All right. Good afternoon, everyone. It is so great to see you here and to have three of some of my very favorite female entrepreneurs here with us today and celebrating Women's Entrepreneurship Week. This is a great week for us at CCEI and across the country to be celebrating and creating conversations around women and entrepreneurship. So today we are talking about self-awareness, and we're talking about it both as a strength in your entrepreneurial journey, but also as a point of reflection and growth throughout that entire journey. So I'm looking forward to the conversation. I know that we have some guests that join us live, and then most of you will be hearing this as a recording. So happy to get some questions in from the chat. For those of you that are listening to us live, we'll be able to throw those questions out to our panelists as we go. So I would like to introduce our three panelists this afternoon. We will have them go down and do a brief overview of who they are, and then we'll just jump right into the questions. So we have Hayley, Shay, and Jayme, all UConn alumni, all female entrepreneurs, have gone through CCEI programs and are well connected into our CCEI family. So Hayley, do you want to kick us off?
Sure. Hi, everybody. My name is Hayley Segar, and I'm the founder of One With Swim. We make patent pending second skin swimwear that fits and feels like seamless underwear. I'm a UConn alum, as Jen mentioned. I graduated back in 2017 and was fortunate enough to go through a couple of CCEI programs, namely Summer Fellowship and then the Wolf competition. So super grateful for all that UConn has done for me. And I always love coming back and giving any knowledge about my journey that I can. So I'm excited to be here today.
Great. Thank you, Hayley. All right, Shay.
Hi, I'm Shay Cantner. I'm the founder and CEO of Elia. We're a digital care management platform for families and providers who have children with special needs. We help them coordinate all of their paperwork, and we're coming out with some exciting new features soon to help families manage all of their care. I am a UConn graduate. I graduated from NEAG School of Education in 2013 with a degree in education leadership. So I'm a former teacher, and I'm a mom to two children with special needs. So I really have taken like my personal and professional journey along on this entrepreneurial ride. And I'm really grateful to all the support that I've received from CCI, our entire team. We went through the summer fellowship in last summer, 2021. We were a Wolf finalist. We also, prior to that, had participated in the Accelerate program at CCEI. So it's just been great to get connected to a different program at UConn that I hadn't been familiar with, but has really continued to allow me to be connected to the university and support me in building this business.
Great, Shay. Thank you. Jayme?
Hi, everyone. I'm the co-founder of Lactation Innovations, and we're developing a sensor and platform to support breastfeeding mothers so they can enjoy breastfeeding and breastfeed longer. I started my entrepreneurial journey about 6 years ago and took on various companies and roles and whatnot. And so I was introduced to my business partner currently, Brittany, about 3 years ago, and been working on Lactation Innovations ever since. I'm the most recent CCEI graduate. I just finished up a couple months ago and partook in the Wolf competition and actually won that competition last week, 2 weeks ago. So happy to share whatever we can.
Thank you, Jayme. And I probably should have introduced myself at the beginning because I realize that there are some people that will be listening to this recording in the future that may not know, but I'm Jen Mathieu. I'm the Executive Director of the Connecticut Center for Entrepreneurship and Innovation, which is CCEI, and we will keep referring to it as that. And I'm personally passionate about supporting women entrepreneurs and work to coach and consult women entrepreneurs and on the side, in addition to the stuff that I do in the center. So I find that these conversations around entrepreneurship are, we talk a lot about the building blocks of a business, right? We go through these accelerator programs. We learn everything from who's your customer, sales channels, figuring out revenue. Hopefully, your costs are less than what you're bringing in, right? So we go through all the logistics, but some of the things that I think we're trying to do a better job at CCEI in doing is really preparing the actual entrepreneur, building the entrepreneur through the lens of that new role potentially, right? If that's the first business that they're launching, and helping them to build themselves professionally. And I think that is incredibly important in the grit, resiliency, and strength that our entrepreneurs have as they overcome hurdles, right? Because this journey is not necessarily an easy one. So part of that is self-awareness. So I thought that this topic would be fantastic to throw out to all of you and an underlying theme of this conversation today. So what does self-awareness mean to you? And why do you think it's important to be self-aware in your entrepreneurial journey?
If I start, go back to in the order that we started. Okay. Self-awareness and what does it mean to me? I think that self-awareness is the trait of being able to kind of contextualize yourself in any situation, where you stand and how to act on it, and why it's important in terms of being an entrepreneur. I feel like I learned why it was important through having a lot of bosses and people that I worked with who I felt weren't self-aware. And I'm like, you know what, if they just knew how this looked from the outside, maybe they would change their stance or change their opinion, change the way that they're acting. So I feel like, and this is also why I always preach, like, please, please, please work for other people before you work for yourself. Because I think that aids in self-awareness as well. Again, it's all about like that contextualization of where you stand. And again, being able to act accordingly. Knowledge is power. And yeah, so I always like to think about myself like, okay, if I was the employee in this situation, or if I was working, if the roles were reversed, how would I want to be approached? How would I like to be spoken to resolve this, or, further this, whatever that, kind of action item might be. I think there's a ton of empathy involved in self-awareness. So, but again, I like always somehow end up preaching, please work for other people before working for yourself, because I do think it aids in the ability to do that.
Great. And so we don't have to go in any order. I want to make this conversational. So Jayme, Shay, feel free to add your thoughts on what Hayley said, or share something of your own.
Sure. So I'll add to Hayley's comment. So I think of it as a process of continually kind of checking in with yourself and where you are. Obviously it's the reviews of where's my strengths, where's my weaknesses, where do I need to fill holes, where do I want to fill a hole, but there's nothing to fill. So I have to step up my own game and just constantly checking back in that. And I found that changes often, where you thought it was a strength and now you realize it might not be as high as you thought, or you thought it was a weakness, and vice versa. And then I'll go a step further, where as a mom of 2 kids and an entrepreneur, I'm constantly looking at a moment to moment, what's my resource availability? Do I have craziness going on with the kids? Do I not have time to do something that, 10 years ago would have been a no-brainer for me? So kind of not only my own strengths, but also my own resources.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can definitely piggyback off of that. I mean, I guess what I can add to the conversation is that I would think of self-awareness as a teaching and learning experience, right? Like, what am I going to learn from this? What is someone else going to learn from this? How can we learn together as a team? If I'm more aware of my strengths and weaknesses, then I'm going to be a better teacher. I'm also going to be a better learner, right? I'm going to be able to absorb what someone else is offering. And I think, piggybacking off of Jayme's resources. Yeah, I'm a mom of 3. It's the same situation. Like, what time do I have to give to learn something versus bringing someone onto my team that has the skill, that can teach me, or that can do it better than me. And that's great. Being a leader is not about being the best at all of it. And I think there's a lot of leaders that we've all experienced out there, like Hayley is saying, those people that you worked for that maybe weren't as self-aware. Like, I want to constantly think about, like Jayme said, what are the resources and what should I lend my time to learning something new versus bringing someone new on or bringing a consultant on so that everyone can learn from that on the team, right? Myself and everyone else.
That all sounds wonderful. I love your thoughts on what self-awareness means to you and how you've kind of woven into your entrepreneurial journey. But how do you get there? Do you feel like you've always been at this point? Do you think that this has been a journey and you're still growing?
Oh, I think it's a continuous journey. I mean, I've been on this ride for a few years now. And when I first started it, I came in with a huge imposter syndrome of like, I was just a teacher. How am I going to build this tech business? I'm not an entrepreneur. I don't have any business experience and I don't have any tech experience. And so I decided that I just had to come into absolutely every situation with, I don't know what I don't know. I am here to learn. And then I am here to use my skill as a leader to build the team that's going to build it. So I think I try to enter and approach every single meeting with, I don't know what I don't know. What am I going to learn? Even with my staff, even with those who work for me.
I think it's also a process. I mean, as you gain an experience, you learn different contexts to kind of compare yourself against, and not that, you want to always compare yourself, but it's always a good way to say, okay, here's my scale now. I've just met these 10 amazing people. I have a new scale now. I want to be even better, and just constantly challenging yourself to reevaluate yourself against different people in different situations and different ways that you could be a better version of yourself.
Absolutely. And kind of jumping off of what Jayme said, I feel like I am always reminded of my own journey in self-awareness / just the growth therein. Like when you look at old LinkedIn posts that you wrote, or like even emails from a few years ago, you're like, oh my gosh, I would never talk like that now. What was I thinking? You know what I'm saying? Like that was me professionally, like at one point. That's so wild. And I feel like, if you don't have that self-awareness to recognize growth, and B, continuously act on it, you'll have a lack of just general professional development. And that's why I think sometimes it's really nice. It's really humbling to look back, like even at my first CCEI presentations, which like I bring out for laughs sometimes. And it's like, wow, like I really, I wasn't even self-aware enough at that time to realize how this wasn't that good. Thank God now I can realize like, my strengths and my weaknesses, even when I'm just creating something. So that's kind of like a more literal definition, but it's a pretty easy way to see how you've grown.
Yeah. And I like, Hayley, when you mentioned the note about bosses and working for someone to be able to understand where you, like how you're going to manage yourself at that level and how you're going to interact with employees. And then Jayme just now saying that reflection of yourself and others. And I've always said that self-awareness needs to come when you can see yourself and somebody else. Like you need to be able to see the things. And there's this saying or this quote that's, you often are frustrated or annoyed in another person with the things that you're insecure with in your own self. Right. And so when you see those things manifested in another person and you find a way to see how you may be able to change that or to leverage that, right? If you see it as a strength in yourself, it becomes really powerful. And surrounding yourself with the people that you want to be around, to be able to encourage growth and not use it as a point of comparison, Jayme, as you mentioned, but use it as a point of leveraging yourself and making yourself better.
Mm-hmm.
So are there specific tools or people or support that you've sought out and to help develop yourself a little bit more, either through your self-awareness journey, but also professionally?
Yeah, I'll start on that one because one of the things that I invested in for myself and my business was a mindset coach about a year and a half ago, I think, for the first time. And that's been in addition to, therapy and whatever else, but having a mindset coach has single-handedly brought me a new sense of self-awareness, not just, again, like I keep saying, like where you stand in a room, where you stand with other people, where you stand with the people who work for you or with you or whatever, but also within yourself. It allows you to look at the conversations you're having when you're doing the work of breaking down your own thoughts. Like, why am I saying that? There's a reason why I'm saying that, or why people interpret me that specific way. And that's been super interesting. One thing that my mindset coach always says is like, get really curious, get curious about yourself, why you're saying things, why you're doing things, which again, just aids in your understanding of your own self-awareness. And so that's been really, really useful for me personally, in my personal relationships, in my professional relationships. So I'm a really big believer in investing in coaches that speak to you. Like I have a productivity coach. Like, I feel like if I am at a roadblock and I'm struggling, like I'll literally Google like productivity coach, mindset coach. Like I just look for someone that I can work with to help me strengthen a weakness. Sorry, I should shut my window. We're probably getting background noise, but so coaches have been a really big investment and support tool for me in my entrepreneurial journey.
Great. Jayme, Shay, what do you think?
I can go. For me, the tools have been some of the accelerators and programs, which have brought me to coaches and mentors, right? And then maintaining those relationships with some of those coaches and mentors over time. So specifically, I started off at Reset, and then from Reset, got introduced to Accelerate and CCEI and CT Next. And so, the list went on, and maintaining relationships over time with some of those coaches that specifically can also see your journey from way back. Because sometimes when you're frustrated with something that's right in front of you, like this month, this is the problem, and it feels like it's going to be the end of everything. And that person can help you come back and go, do you remember like 3 years ago? Right. Like it's, being able to reflect back. Mentors and coming into a mentor relationship. I like that Hayley just mentioned mindset. Coming into a mentor relationship, not thinking like, oh, I can't learn anything from this person, like coming in and saying, I've got to listen and hear everything that this person has to say. I don't have to agree with all of it in the end, right? Like I'll have to pick and choose what of that information I'm going to take on and use to adjust what I'm portraying for my business. But I need to listen to it and accept it all and then be able to digest it.
Yeah. I'll echo both of Hayley and Shay's comments. I've used executive coaching extensively. I've been in a lot of mentor coaching groups and whatnot. And I think one thing is constantly knowing, part of self-awareness, knowing when you've outgrown a coach is important too. A couple of times I've had to, move on from one coach to another because I had a different challenge and different, needed a different perspective. I'd add two more things. So one, I talk to as many people in professional setting as I possibly could, constantly saying yes to any conversation and networking and trying to kind of expand those people that I'm exposed to, and listening to their feedback, even the kind of unspoken, they kind of give you a funny look here and there, makes me kind of reevaluate what I'm saying, how I'm saying it, those kind of things. And then not to get too corny, but my husband has been an unbelievable backdrop to everything that I've done. And I'd say we are equal partners in a way that he can criticize and provide feedback to things that I do and how I interact with the world in a way that is very trusted and safe. And I provide the same for him. So I think having that confidant, whether it's a partner, a friend, a really close mentor, like having that person who can kind of personally and professionally kind of help you grow is pretty spectacular.
Yeah, I love that. And, one of the topics I wanted to throw out in this conversation was mentorship. And I think, Jayme, you did a great job at explaining that mentorship comes from all different levels. And I think with the self-awareness component, having others around you that can challenge you and to be that, hold that mirror up to you and to help you better understand some of the things that you are doing in that moment or with that particular challenge that you're facing. It's incredibly powerful. And I think it's one of the best tools in being more self-aware is having that trusted person guiding you. And I also think it's helpful in having that person kind of identifying opportunities for you that you may not see in yourself or see for yourself and having them guide you down a path you wouldn't have gone down on your own. So this is great. So we've talked a lot about strengths and things that we have done in our journeys, but let's talk a little bit about some of the personal challenges that you all have faced over the last few years of being an entrepreneur, and how do you overcome those challenges?
Call Jen. Jen is, let me just do a Jen soapbox moment. I feel like, going back to what Jayme was saying of having those confidants, find people who calm your nervous system and are so empowering and encouraging that when you are in those moments of weakness, you have someone to talk to who can help you through the problem, not only logistically, but just physically, helping you as a person. And Jennifer Mathieu is an amazing example of this. I feel bad because I feel like sometimes when I text you, Jen, it's like panic SOS, like, please help me with this. But it's just speaking to how amazing you are in terms of knowledge within helping entrepreneurs, and also just your general demeanor and affect is just so calming and warm and lovely. And I think that having that is so important when you are in a moment of weakness or struggle. So, I mean, Jen, again, pretty intimately a lot of the back end struggles that I've had in building One With. So if you think that there's something I should contribute specifically in relation to this, let me know. But I had to give a shout out to my girl.
I appreciate that. I do think it's helpful to have someone like, we were saying, that you trust, that you can throw a challenge to. And I think Shay may have said this, that sometimes in the moment, challenges feel like earth shattering. Like you think this is it. This is the thing that's going to kill my business today. Right. And entrepreneurship is such a lonely sport in that we don't often have, if we're not a co-founder, we don't have someone that's doing this the same amount of time or energy as we are, or doesn't care as much as we do about it. It becomes really hard to talk to someone that gets it, right? And can be empathetic, but also give some support on next steps. So, and Hayley, when you said if there's something specific I can outline for you to talk about in your challenges, you say that because you've had many challenges over the last couple of years, as I'm sure Jayme and Shay have experienced as well. And I think it would be good if you wanted to pick one and talk about how you overcame it. And I don't know if you want to throw it over to Shay and Jayme to answer this question while you're thinking about one, because I know one of the things I've appreciated about you and your journey is the ability to overcome difficulties. And you've hit quite a few roadblocks in the point where you were unsure what the future looked like for the business, for your ability to push something forward, and you did it and you do it every day. So,
yeah, I will let Shay or Jayme set the tone for what kind of struggles we're going to share, because as you know, I could get pretty nitty gritty. So you guys go first.
So no pressure, Shay and Jayme, but you guys are setting the bar for the level of disclosure that we're going on here.
Okay. All right. Jayme, if you don't want to go, I'll pick one. Go for it.
It's all yours. You can start that bar.
Okay. So I guess I will say one of the biggest challenges I've had Again, I said this before, I knew from the beginning, like I needed to build a team that could help me and support me. I wasn't going to be a single founder, and I've been really fortunate in having a team that has changed at times along with me. But I would say that COVID starting was one of the biggest challenges, where I had this team that was really working hard with me as much as they could. They all had full-time jobs, and I was the only one that didn't. And, but once COVID hit, well, we all know the whole world changed. And so what changed for us is that then I was on my own, right? And I really felt pretty alone. Even though they were trying to help, it wasn't what they could do in the past. And I felt very much at this crossroads. We had won some grant money, like that high was there, that entrepreneurial high was there. COVID hits at the same time. They go, well, now we don't have the money to give you, right? So like this grant got pulled back, and it really felt like, is this the end? Like, am I going to hang this up and say that COVID ended it? And that could be the truth. Or am I going to do something about this and continue on? And I think how did I overcome that? My story, my entrepreneurial story, and the story of my business really lays with my children as well. One of the reasons I wanted to build this is not just because I saw the problem professionally. I was seeing it in my own life and trying to help my children get services. And during the pandemic, that was really, really challenging. It was really challenging for everyone. Children with special needs, put an exponential number on that, right? And so living that and watching that happen to other people just made me say, I can't stop that. I can't stop moving forward. Like I feel this personal, strong pull to make this happen, and I can't just let this be the end. I ended up recruiting another friend of mine to join me along, and Jeff has now been my partner since, came through summer fellowship with me, has been there like my right hand. And that's been amazing. So if I hadn't made that decision to just say, I kind of buckled down for a while and just did the grind myself, but slowly I got there. The grant ended up coming through eventually, right? We all thought the world was ending, but it didn't end. It just changed and slowed. So same thing happened for me. I don't think it would have been wrong if I had hung it up then, that would have been a valid choice as well, but I'm glad that I kept going. And it kind of prepared me for other challenges that have come along the way that, again, now don't seem so earth-shattering. Okay, we're gonna ride this a little bit longer, and it's a see what happens. But you have to be willing to live with see what happens.
Yeah, that's great.
For sure. So as I was listening to you, Shay, thank you for the inspiration, not only in your words, but also in terms of topic choice, because your messaging is ultimately what I'm going to get at as well. I'll just kind of go back to the basics of one fundamental thing that was literally preventing us from launching, which was our product. It seemed like never was going to get here. When we were first launching, our factory backed out. Then we got a new factory, and that factory kept pushing our date for shipping the product to an extreme. I'm talking 6 months difference of when we were promised versus when it was actually delivered. Summer came and went. I lost hope of launching in a seasonal manner. And then when the product got here, our extra smalls came in unwearable. There was just so many things. But I kept telling myself throughout that whole time when I was waiting for product, and it was if I just had product, that's all I need. I can have a business if I just have product. I gained this appreciation in that gut-wrenching time of will I ever have a business? I've got everything else in place. The website's ready to go. I just need stuff to sell. I gained this perspective of as long as I have product, right, I have a business. And even when I have so many problems or day-to-day issues or really, really big issues now, I'm thank God I just have product here. that's workable. Like that instance in that time in my life of that waiting game where I had tens of thousands of dollars on the line and so much time, money, effort tied up in this, and is it even gonna end up here? That waiting game, getting okay with being uncomfortable, has given me this perspective now of like, I'm so thankful that like I can go in our inventory room and like touch this product and it's here, and you know, we've got stuff to sell, we've got a live business, like that's amazing. So through these difficulties, you do gain perspective in whatever, you know, respective situation that is. But it's definitely that waiting game, and again, getting comfy with being uncomfortable is really, really hard. It's really, really hard.
Definitely. So I won't go into a specific example, but I think on a bi-weekly basis, I think that we're going to have to shut down the company. So just kind of go on that on that assumption. But I'm an engineer, and I'm a very kind of I get really calm with spreadsheets and in my office by myself. And so, you know, one of these things happens and I put my head down and I'm on my computer and I'm, you know, very introspective on what needs to happen. And one of the biggest things that I've learned and still challenged, but learning to deal with, is looking up when those challenges come, and looking out. And, you know, even if it's Googling, even if it's having a conversation with a friend, or, you know, thinking through things in a bigger way and not just focusing in on the details of what's going wrong or what needs to happen, I think has really changed the outcome of many of those decisions in a positive way. Like I said, it's something I'm still working with. You know, now it's only a couple days where I look down before I look up and try to just seek outside input. But I think that's my personal biggest challenge. But I'd like to kind of leverage off something Shay was saying with let's see what happens. And I think that's really inspirational in a lot of ways. I think a lot of women specifically tie up their value in who I am with the success of our company. And I don't think, and something, again, I'm still working through, is who I am doesn't change if my company fails, you know. And I believe in our product. I believe in helping moms. I believe that we can help moms, but if it turns out we can't, it doesn't make me a bad person. And so, like, I feel like this is all just building momentum to whatever that final thing is, whether it's this product, a different company. But let's see what happens, I think, is a really good mantra.
Yeah, I think that I agree. I love that. And some of the points too that Shay was making around just trying to be comfortable. And I think Hayley emphasized that as well, just getting comfy with the uncomfortable. And I also think the Shay said something about the more that you experience challenges, like the more, it's almost like a muscle you work, right? Like when you work out, it doesn't hurt as bad to run as far if you have experienced that in the past. And the challenges that you face, you go, okay, well, I faced something similar last time, or maybe the problem is a little less extreme because you learned something from the last time that you were able to instill or predict in the future and make some changes before that happens. So yeah, there's definitely great outlooks. And I'm curious to know, through the ups and downs and roller coaster of entrepreneurship, what are some of the things you all do to keep yourself motivated?
Check the bank account. On a practical level. But I think I've kind of said it, but it's Jayme just said something similar, like, I'm here to help families. You know, it's about helping those families that are going to be our future customers. And that's what's in my mind a lot. That's the motivation.
I think checking the bank account, love that. I think also having just, and this is so cliche and cheesy, but having that unwavering passion for whatever you're building. just getting back to that whenever you are going through a moment where you feel like you're waffling or floundering, whatever adjective or verb you want to use to, describe that. Like as rough as things get, I am so committed to One With and the product and being the person that brought it to market and continues to innovate on it and iterate on it and continue to represent it in the way that we do, is something I take so seriously. So if I'm not feeling motivated, I know that it's not a commentary on the business or me. I see it as okay, you need to do a little R&R or something because you're maybe a little burnt out. But because I never have to like convince myself that I need to be working on this, or it's so innate in me at this point. But just getting back to that. And again, also being self-aware enough to realize when, okay, maybe I'm not feeling as like, up and at 'em about something because maybe I'm like a little burnt out and maybe you need a day off and maybe I just need to lay on the couch and watch Sopranos or Mad Men or whatever it is that night, to just get back in touch with my baseline to gain my own just personal motivation back.
I just want to say that is hugely important. I am one that struggles with remembering that it's okay to take a break and giving yourself permission to relax. If you take a few hours off, it's better than even longer hours wasted where you're unproductive because you have a lot that you're sitting with and you just need some downtime and relaxation. My coach gave me some really good advice recently of where I put my energy and allowing it to be in a place that like refuels it for me. So if I'm feeling burnt out at the end of the day, using that as a tool to rekindle that fire so that I'm ready to go for the next round, whatever that may be.
Absolutely.
Jayme, what keeps you motivated?
I echo both of them. I am just passionate about my product. I'm passionate about helping people. And I think that just is kind of like the North Star. I'm really bad at the R&R side of things notoriously. But sometimes motivation is I have to get this done and, you have a timeline and whatnot. And I find sometimes just taking the smallest step in the right direction just will bust through whatever kind of blockage I have. So, I'm like, all right, I have to write this document. I'm just going to template. I'm just going to write the outline for it and put my logo up in the corner. And before I know it, 2 hours are gone and it's half done. So, after you, do your R&R and identify the patient or your passion, it's like, sometimes it's just open the Word document. And sometimes that's all you need.
Great. So just getting started. Stop thinking about starting, just start. That's great. All right. Well, I do have one last question, but I'm going to save that for the end. And just because we do have a live audience for this recording, would love to see if anyone has any questions. Feel free to throw them in the chat, or if you feel comfortable with unmuting yourself, you absolutely can ask a question. And if not, there's no pressure. I'll give it a moment. All right. So I am going to close with asking you all to share one piece of advice for anyone who's listening. It can be related to this topic, entrepreneurship, your own journey, your experiences. What's one piece of advice you want the listeners to take away today?
I'll go with a really classic one, but one that I think serves as a really good litmus test for dedication and taking your own temperature as it relates to that. Know that everything that you want to do, whatever's in your head as to the business you're starting, the product you're building, it's going to take 2 to 8 times as long as you think it will. It's going to cost 2 to 100 times more than you think it will. It's going to be 40 times harder than you think it will be. And if those things don't make you excited to figure it out, even with those challenges thrown your way, you might want to reconsider, because that is the reality. And I always say, I'm so happy that I didn't know how hard it was going to be. But I really do think it's so important to understand that it is really hard, but I feel like entrepreneurship is about embracing those challenges and often making lemonade out of lemons, or getting creative and pivoting on things, and figuring out creative ways to make things a little cheaper, or make things less cost intensive for you, or whatever that solve might be. But you have to be up for that challenge. And if you want smooth sailing and a really linear journey, you're not going to get it. And if you do get it, you're probably doing something wrong. So I really think it's so important to make sure that you are so game for that and so up for it in such an unwavering way. And if you are, you're good. You're golden. So that's my advice.
Awesome.
Hayley, I love how you just said, like, it was better to not know. That's exactly how I feel. Yeah, it was so much better to not really know what I was getting myself into.
Yes.
But on the other hand, I remember for someone, if this piece of advice is for someone who's thinking about getting into entrepreneurship, if you're a woman who's thinking about getting into entrepreneurship, one thing that almost held me back, and I'm so glad that it didn't, was the things that I didn't know. I didn't know what B2B was or B2C was. Again, I'd never gone to business school, right? Get comfortable with Googling that stuff, right? And don't feel bad about it, or just raising your hand and asking the question.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's all the stuff that you can overcome. That's the peanuts that I think could shut someone down in the beginning. And that's not the barrier, right? That's the stuff that's learnable. And as soon as you overcome that hump, then you're going to get the challenges that Hayley's talking about. So if you've got that grit and that passion for what you want to build, that other stuff is peanuts, right? There's tools out there to help you with all those other aspects of building the business, like CCEI.
And Shay, to echo that, sorry, no, Jayme, you're up, but I always say, like, if it's a Googleable problem, it's not a problem, because you've got Google to figure it out for you. Where you really run into issues is when your problem transcends Google. So right. That's my barometer for issues.
Absolutely.
So my piece of advice would be to constantly surround yourself with people who both inspire and challenge you. I feel like you can learn a lot about yourself, a lot about what you want to do, about solving problems, about creating new problems for yourself, all sorts of things. But you don't know what's out there until you talk to the people who've done it before and can inspire you.
That was great. Yeah. So great, inspiring takeaways. I love the concept of there's so much out there that you can learn from programs like CCEI, through Google, from mentors, but there are much bigger challenges. So being able to put yourself in a position where you can overcome those challenges and really move on to the bigger problem. And I've heard a similar quote, Hayley, about the Googleable thing, but I've heard it through the lens of, if what you're trying to create is Googleable, or you could write it in words, and you're not thinking big enough. So I really like that concept of challenging yourself to think differently. So thank you all for joining today. It was a wonderful conversation. It was great to see the three of you and to hear a little bit more about what you've been doing and how you're overcoming some of the challenges that ultimately we all knew that were going to come down the road for you. So we're looking forward to continuing these conversations, and we have future timely topics coming up in a few weeks. We have 2 more female entrepreneurs coming up the next 2 sessions, which you'll see here on the screen. So feel free to register to attend those. I think that, great conversations with both Brittany and Grace. And then also just wanting to do a quick plug for our family business program, which has quite a few events going on this week, specifically specifically, we have a revenue workshop tomorrow at our center space in downtown Hartford. So it's physically in person, but a great way to network with other businesses. And actually, you don't have to be a family business to attend. This is really a session on creating a marketing plan and measuring sales progress and sales success. So if you are available, there's a link in the chat here. So feel free to join us for that event. And there's some other great family business program events that are coming up later this week as well, which I will throw in the chat. So thank you all for joining us and have a wonderful afternoon.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks for having me. Thanks, Jen.
All right. Thank you. Can we stop the recording?
We figure out how to do that.